Welcome back, viewers, yet to another episode of our unique stories that we dig out from the rural areas and just try to share them with you. Now, today we want to look at a story that is very interesting. It happened in Bungoma, and it is that the particulars of the story is that somewhere between January 3rd and 9th of January 2016, in a village, in a sub-location called Musembe, in Bungoma's North Sub-County, within Bungoma County, one Joseph Majani was accused of killing his father, together with his two brothers and the mother. Welcome to this episode, and let us walk through this particular story. Now, quickly, let me give you kind of a premonition of what happened. One Patrick Mukwana was the deceased, the father to Joseph Majani and two other brothers and a husband to a wife that colluded and killed him. All the four who were accused, that is Joseph, his two brothers, and the mother, all of them pleaded not guilty to the charge. In the charges against the first accused, who is Joseph in this case, and that is the focus of this story, eventually was reduced to manslaughter following a plea bargain agreement on 7th March 2022, and this plea bargain was filed on 9th March 2022. So that kind of summarizes the whole thing. But let me dig deeper into the issues. The court duly entered a plea of guilty to the said charge of manslaughter, contrary to Section 202, as read with Section 205 of the Penal Code, Cap 63, upon the first accused person's own plea of guilt to said charge, after the court accepted the plea arrangement, which again was personal to Section 137H of the Criminal Procedure Code. Now, this was after the court was, looked at this gentleman, Majani, Joseph Majani, and was satisfied that the factual basis of the plea agreement and that the first accused person was competent, of sound mind, and acted voluntarily in accordance with Section of 137G of the Criminal Procedure Code at the time of this particular plea agreement. Now, let me take you to the facts of the story. It was argued that between 3rd January and 9th January 2016, in Musembe's sublocation, as I said, in Bungoma North Sub-County, Bungoma County, Patrick Majani, together with others who were produced actually before the court, they jointly and unlawfully caused the death of Patrick Patrick Mukwana. Patrick Mukwana was actually the father to Joseph and the two brothers who were before the court, and their mother, who was the wife to this particular gentleman. Now, let me take you back to how it happened. It was how it all started. It was in July 2015 at Lunyo location within, Bungoma. So in this small village, Joseph, who is here in the accused, and then he attended a meeting between himself, his mother, Beatrice Mukwana, and his elder brothers, that is David Kaemba and Evans Kaemba. And there was also someone in the mix called Job Simiu. It's interesting to try and find out what was the interest of Simiu. So these were the three brothers, Joseph, David, and Evans. They, with the mother, in this month of July 2015, attended a particular meeting. Now, the subject of the meeting was to deliberate on ways and means of killing their father, that is Patrick Mukwana, now the deceased. So after deliberations, maybe they have thought, they tried to see which is the way to kill this father. The quickest and best and safest way for them at that moment, they said, guys, look here, we have to go to a witch doctor so that we can kill our father, or husband in that case. So it was agreed that a cow was to be sold for a sum total of 30,000, and the money was to be given to a witch doctor, and who could now do his work and kill the father. So they actually did that. They went and saw the cow, and they looked for the most lethal witch doctor around, and they paid the money, and so they left the work to the witch doctor so that he can kill their father. supposedly so that they can remain with the well that the father had, the little well that the father had. Now, however, it was interesting that even after they're paid and the witch doctor did his craft and all those things, from July, he was still alive. August, September, October, all the way to December 2015, the father was still alive. He was not dying. So, and then came Christmas. The father was still alive and enjoyed Christmas with them. Now, this threw them back to the drawing table and said, guys, we have to look for a plan B. So, what was the plan B? Let's have a look at that. So, when the entire 2015 ended, and this father did not die, Patrick, the four came back again. You remember our Joseph? Then you have the two brothers and the mother. So the four of them came back together again and said, you know, guys, we have to look for another alternative. So they had a meeting in January 2016 again and discussed which is the alternative way of killing their father. And this time, the use of a witch doctor was not really given a lot of weight because they had tried it, they wasted their 30,000, nothing of substance came back, or rather they didn't get the desired result that they wanted. So they said, we have to kill this old man before the sale of the sugar cane, because they were apprehensive that the money would be given to the stepmother. So at around 9 p.m., Joseph's mother left him in the kitchen, in her kitchen actually. So left Joseph together with his two brothers, and the father was there seated by the door. So it's kind of, they had called the father, or they had the father in the kitchen. So the mother walked out shortly. And in this kitchen, it was a small kitchen, you know, the grass thatched ones, and with the mud walls and just a small door. There was no lighting, no electricity, no solar lighting. The only source of light that was there was the fire that they were using for cooking. So it was quite dimly lit in that house. So as the mother had walked out, the father was seated by the kitchen door, and this is where the whole plan now unfolded, the plan they had discussed before. So the plan was, one, the second accused person, called Daniel Muniola, who is the eldest person, just jumped on his father and wrestled him to the ground. The father fell outside the kitchen door, hitting his forehead on the ground. Then the third accused, that is Evans Kaimba, proceeded to strangle the father on the neck. You know, he just held him on the neck when Daniel was holding on his feet. And then the first accused, that is who is our focus now, and one guy called Job Simiu pinned the father down as Daniel was as Evans was strangling him to try and choke him out of breath. Then Daniel left him and ran out and brought a big stick and used it to hold the father's neck against the ground and strangling him, you know, with the big stick on his throat, strangling him, and his feet, you remember, were held by other people, strangled him until he passed on. So after that, Daniel, threw away the stick, and now the challenge was here. How do we dispose of this body? We have now killed him, and it happened quick because there were strong boys, 4 of them ganged up against this old man. He had no chances. Now this is what happened. Once they had killed him, they took the body and dumped it at Kibisi River. So that is now time for cleaning up the mess. That was the best that they could do for the physical evidence. So after dumping the body of their father in the river, the mother now called them and told them, look here, I want you guys to keep silent about this issue. Promised to give Joseph 200,000 for him to be silent. And that is what happened. Now, on and on, Finally, the body was recovered at Kibisi River and taken to Kiminini Cottage Hospital mortuary, where a post-mortem was conducted, and the cause of death was established to be, of course, strangulation. Investigations were commenced, but they went cold due to lack of any leads. It was established that the deceased had not been to the second home for 2 days, had not gone to the second wife's home for 2 days. After unfruitful searches, they received a report from the area assistant chief that a certain body had been recovered in a nearby Kibisi River, and which was positively identified as that of the father of Joseph. Few days later, the first accused, that is Joseph, was reported to be displaying weird behavior and further threatened to reveal some secret. But people pleaded with him and tried to probe and give him time and space so that he could tell this secret. But this proved futile. He ended up not giving any secret that he had intended to give. Joseph thereafter, probably after receiving his 200,000 from the mother, he relocated to Eldoret town, which is around 100 kilometers to the east of Bungoma. Maybe in an attempt to forget about everything that happened and just start his life afresh and just move on with his life. So in 2021, the convict reached out to his uncle and confided, that is, Joseph reached out to his uncle and confided in him that he wished to convene a family meeting for the purpose of making a confession. He requested that during this family meeting, there be security agencies present. Remember, this is 5 years after the death of the father. So no one knew whether he was coming to confess about the killing or was something new. No one really knew, because it was 5 years. A lot of things had happened, a lot of cold trails had developed around the case. During the meeting, the convict, that is Joseph, confessed to killing the deceased in company of his 2 brothers and his mother, who were just in the village living their life like nothing had happened. He gave an elaborate account of how he and the other 4 had planned and executed the heinous crime, and that the same had been motivated by selfish desire to unlawfully claim the inheritance from the deceased, who is their father, whom at that point they found to be uncooperative in giving up these inheritances. On that December 2021, remember that is around 5-6 years after this incident, actually 5 years after this incident had happened, at 9:30 a.m., Joseph proceeded to Lunyu police station together with his brothers, mother, and other relatives, where he confessed on the murder and how the murder of his father had been planned and executed. This then prompted his arrest. He was then subjected to mental assessment, which was found that he was mentally fit to stand trial and plead to charges. He was later on charged with the offense of murder, which again, as I had said earlier, was substituted with the charge of murder. The first accused, who is Joseph in this case, on his own unequivocal plea of guilt. He pleaded guilty by himself. In terms of section 202, as read with 205 of the penal code, the accused, upon being convicted, is subject to serve life imprisonment. That is the consequence or the sentence that was facing, that Joseph was looking at by accepting to a guilt plea on this. On the record of the pre-sentencing, his father was a polygamous man. The father of Joseph was a polygamous man. The convict's mother was the first wife, and that the deceased on the 3rd January 2016 called for a family meeting with the agenda not known. Remember, that's where they went and sat. That was in the kitchen, in the dim-lit kitchen. That was 3rd January 2016. Apparently, the sons and the mother took advantage of this meeting that was called for and planned to kill their father. The meeting that was said did not materialize, of course, because the deceased or the father went missing, and the meeting was postponed, or rather presumed to have been postponed. Now, how was the case concluded? It also indicated that the family and the community had a positive attitude towards Joseph, the killer, and indicated that they are not opposed in any way to an uncustodial sentence, and that they were willing to assist Joseph to resettle. Joseph who killed his father. It was reported that the convict also had no criminal record. Now, this is how the case was closed. In the result, Joseph was ordered to serve under probation for a period of 3 years, and that he is also expected to adhere to the terms of the probation and the plea agreement. So that was the consequence of the sentence that Joseph faced. This is one queer and eerie case of 3 brothers, a mother, all born and cared for by the same man, married and cared for by the same man also, ganging up and over years contemplating how to kill a man they lived with on a daily basis. And this father had no idea these people are planning to kill him. If you like these stories and would like to see more of such stories and adventures, please like, and if you please subscribe to our channel and share out the channel link. Also, let us know what other stories you would like us to see covered within this channel to help us educate, entertain, and keep each other alert. Thank you.